have a question for you, Nick Arcana.
What's that?
Have you have you kept up to date with all the recent news about Scream 7? The news has been coming in hot and heavy. We're getting cast updates every day. We're getting a better picture of what Scream 7 is going to look like. We know obviously Jenny Ortega and Melissa Barrera are not going to be in Scream 7, but now we're getting a clear look
Whoa,
at what's
whoa,
going on.
whoa,
What?
whoa.
Yeah.
What do you mean they're not going to be in Scream 7? Did you not see how Scream 6 ended? They have to give us the last part of this trilogy, okay? What are you talking about? I never even heard this.
You know, I hate to be the one to tell you, but there was this whole thing and another thing, and that led to another thing, and just no more Carpenter sisters. It's just no thing. So,
Oh,
but but wait. I know if you have an emotional connection to the core four, I got good news for you. This week, it was discovered that one unstoppable, unkillable, unimaginably resilient Chad, played by Mason Gooding, will be back in the Scream 7. So,
okay. I thought you were about to say his damn sister. Um,
well, no, I mean,
as long as Mindy doesn't come back, okay. Out of
you're
the
not a
core
Mindy,
four, Chad is the best one.
you're not a Mindy fan. That's 100% true. So, um,
No, so I'm curious on how that's going to work because if we don't if we don't at least get Tara, because remember at the end of Scream 6, him and Tara were a couple. They were a thing. Personally, he should have died, but so maybe they're going to rectify that in this movie as the first kill in this movie. But how can you explain Chad being in this and not Tara? Did they break up? Did Tara die off screen? Did Sam die off screen? Because if Tara died, Sam's going to have to die. Otherwise, Sam's going to go on a killing spree.
well, let's go through a couple possibilities. So, one possibility is that Chad's the opening kill. So, it means that the killer, before he moves on to the Sydney storyline, is going to just kill Chad. But then it's like, okay, why wouldn't he then go after the rest of the core four? How do you just deal with Chad, but then not involve yourself with Tara and that thing? Um,
I got it. Okay. Sorry, I know you were on a train of thought, but I just got one myself.
yeah,
What if? Okay, let's say Sam, Tara, and Mindy all died off screen to a ghost face, right?
yep.
Well, that ghost face got its revenge by killing off Sam.
Mhm.
What if, say, Chad, because Tara and Mindy were killed, I don't think Chad cared too much for Sam, uh, went crazy, found out who that ghost face was, and donned the ghost face outfit to go after them.
Problem is, I like the theory. The problem is that sounds like its own movie, and this movie's clearly about Sydney. Where does Sydney come in as the main character? That sounds like a Chad is the main character
I
movie.
got it. Sydney comes in because her 17-year-old daughter was the ghost face that killed Sam, Tara, and Mindy. Does it
You know
make
what?
sense? No, but
I just thought about how hilarious. Picture this as a on camera chase scene where Ghostface is chasing Ghostface. They're both in costume. You see Ghostface running away from another Ghostface with a knife. That would
well,
be just to see that would be hilarious. Like Ghost is like, why the hell am I being chased by Ghost?
well, let's
That'd
face
be
it. It makes no sense of Chad being the first kill when he's already proven he's as immortal as Art the Clown.
Chad's the opening kill. That literally they have to play in that. They have to make fun of it. Ghostface is to stab him, right? And and then he has to start to walk away and be like, wait a minute. He has to come back and like set him on fire, watch the body disintegrate into ashes. Like they got to play into that if they do it. But see, I don't think he's come back for the opening kill because if you see him on screen in the opening scene, you already know that he's a goner then pretty much. But okay, I don't see how you can come into his world without involving the core four. So you have to have him show up into Sydney's world. So he has to come on the scene into Sydney's world. So something makes him come into like help investigate or help something. That's the only thing I can think of. But then it's like, well, yeah, but then is he the killer? Because him showing up then makes it seem like, oh, maybe he's the killer.
But
Um,
remember, the same thing kind of played off in part 6 with damn, what's her face? Hayden
Herbie?
Panettiere's character. Yeah.
Right, maybe it I don't think there's a time jump enough for him to, like, have become a cop or something like that, but he could easily be, like, the new Dewey if he, like, became a cop or the new
He's
Kirby.
already the new
Um,
Dewey.
well, yeah, and yeah,
He got stabbed like 69 times.
yeah, and I don't know if the audience would buy him as a killer anyways. I don't know if they
I
would
don't
just I don't think they
I,
buy it.
I don't know. He did play a bad guy in a movie in another movie that also has one of the Sprouse brothers. I just haven't seen it yet. I don't even think it's out yet actually. He like does a whole heist on a bridge while a special operative was also on the bridge, so he's trying to defend his girlfriend from Mason Gooding, who is a evil special operative. So he's already
I
played a bad guy once.
I love you, Chad. I think I'm gonna skip that movie, so that's sweet. Alright, so it has been announced, or I guess on the Scream Reddit that theorizing that someone has been cast as Sydney's 17-year-old daughter. That's right.
I think
Sydney
that's
has
supposed to
a
be McKenna Grace. I believe that's supposed to be.
Sydney has a 17-year-old daughter, and with no time jump, that means that during the events of Scream 4, Sydney had a daughter.
Did Cindy
Well,
even have a ring showing she was married in part four?
well, the thing with part 4 is she's on a book tour, right? So it's like, I guess theoretically her husband and daughter could be back somewhere else, but you would think it would come up in the conversation. Now, we're gonna do that thing, of course, where we're like, well, obviously, we know back then they had no idea about this.
Right, but
So I guess we have to nitpick it because it's kind of like, well, okay, but all right, listen, you got a 17-year-old daughter. But immediately when this was found out, there was a certain amount of Scream fans, Scream theories that just killed me because they're like, oh, the daughter's gonna be the killer. They're not gonna make Sydney's daughter the killer. How much trauma do you want Sydney to go through? Now her daughter turns on her and is the killer? Like, how is she ever gonna like mentally get over that? Come on. I don't see it. I am curious to
no,
see what Patrick Dempsey what his role in the movie is because I feel like he has to be taken out of the picture. It's not
I know
as
what his
worthy
role
as
is.
Sydney.
I know what his role is. He's the husband.
Oh, I didn't know that. But I'm saying like what is he still a cop? Is he in the movie a lot? Is he, like, there to protect Sydney? Like, what's going on? I feel like he has to if he's the opening death scene, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't, but it's predictable. Just like because I'm looking at this cast list, and there's another actress I see on here. Now I know her because I watched True Blood and I watched Pitch Perfect. She was a villain in True Blood. She was a bitch in Pitch Perfect, and that's Anna Camp. Okay, she is in this movie, and she out of the cast list we got so far, besides Nev Campbell and Patrick Dempsey, she's the only name I recognize on this list.
Mm.
So yes, to me, Anna Camp is either going to be our Ghostface or she's going to be our first kill.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, the next sequel, it really, I think, has to make a point to not have a name actor or actress be the opening kill and not have a name actor or actress be the killer. Have a no-name person as the opening kill and a no-name person as the killer because you're starting to create like a horror cliche where you can look at the cast list and immediately point out like, oh, this actor is a big name. They signed on to be the opening kill. They signed on to be the killer. They need to like just kill that. It's too predictable. Um, yeah, because like I said, the Scream 6 killer, I knew that from the casting. I guessed pretty quickly that Patrick Dempsey was a Thanksgiving killer because I was like, what the hell else? What the hell else reason is Patrick Dempsey here to be in this movie for? They should kill that for sure. So
It should, but the problem with that is, and it is a trope. Let's not get that twisted and all. But the real problem is, you get all these actors or actresses that plays the good character, that plays the goody two shoes, or just your badass in an action movie, or the love role that the romance role in the romance comedy, that they want to do something different. So for Patrick Dempsey, he's never played a villain. So in Thanksgiving, he wanted to play the villain. He probably got to have more fun doing that because he gets to be unhinged at some point. So I'm hoping he
mm.
was the one wearing the John Carver outfit.
Well, who knows?
Because if he got to wear the John Carver outfit, then he probably had fun with that movie. Now,
Hmm.
and then you get the cop in the Scream 6. I don't know that cop. I don't think I've seen that actor. But I'm assuming he probably doesn't play a whole lot of villain roles.
Yeah, I don't think so. He's pretty well known, but usually he plays like a likable guy. So yeah.
Again, so and it's just the same thing as the very, very, very unknown movie called The Neighbor, which is made by the guys who made The Collector, and their main villain was played by Bill Engvall. And he even said the reason I did that is because I wanted to do something different.
Even going back to Scream 4, I believe that that Emma Roberts had like grew up playing like Disney characters and likable characters. So
The girl next door, pretty much.
even she wanted to do Scream 4 so she could play the villain just to change it up. So well, there's one other casting thing we can talk about that came up this week, which the official sign on return that Courtney Cox will be returning as Gale Weathers. Where do you
Was anyone surprised about that?
nah, she's always there, but what
She has now been
what
officially the only actress to play in all the movies.
I think she's like one of the longest running horror characters like period at this point in terms of like just yeah, being in every movie. But my thing is like her character never shows any growth. Every movie, it's like she feels bad about using this situation for her book or publicity, but then like by the next thing, she's already written a new book or already taken advantage of it. So she's not really a character shows much growth. And then I felt look, she's a familiar face and we like having her around, but I don't
She
know
should
what
have
more
died
you
in
can
six.
should have died in part six. I don't know what more you can do with her character. I mean, and I have a feeling, I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that she's not gonna die in part 7.
She should.
I don't think
Her
her and Nev Campbell, I don't think are ever gonna sign on because I think that, I don't know if they said it, but I feel like they expressed the idea that they were disappointed that Dewey was killed off even. Like, they
well,
were like so it's kinda like if they're disappointed about that, they're not gonna, like, let themselves get killed off then, so
well, let's. I feel like so for me, the only reason if I was one of those two, granted, this is my brain process, not them, because obviously every time they come for a movie, they get money. From
right.
for me, it's like, oh, you're going to kill off one of the core characters that made this franchise, then kill off another at least.
Eventually. If
It,
you if you stop killing off core characters, you kind of lose something, like I mean, we both agree that Scream 6 was a little bit too protective of their characters and
they were.
not wanting to kill off anybody. I mean, you had so many near death scenes with all these people, it's like, it makes sense if, like I mean, it looks bad in hindsight too, because it's like, okay, you didn't even bring back the core 4 for this one, so it's like,
Should
you
have just
coulda definitely yeah, I mean, in hindsight, but you can't be too protective of your characters. You have to have at least one
with
you
how
have to have at
big
least
that cast was in
one
part six, two of them should have died at least.
well, you have to have at least one impactful death. You can't just every sequel introduce new characters and have the new characters be the ones that take the fall. It's like you gotta and the first couple of Screams did that. They killed off Randy and then Cotton and then eventually Dewey. But Scream 6 was the first one that kind of played it safe. And that was a clear death scene for Gale in part 6 that made sense, that worked. And then she was still
Four
alive.
played it safe because all the new characters were the ones that died. None of the old characters, all the old characters survived.
True.
Admittedly, the old characters makes three. Okay, the old characters don't make seven.
Yeah. And dare I say, I mean, again, for me, I feel like Dewey's a more valuable character than Gale. So even in part 5, I would have killed off Gale and kept Dewey.
So
My own
me,
personal preference. So
me personally, I'm still somewhat fine. The only thing I didn't care about Dewey's death is him literally saying you got to shoot him in the head. So he knows that person's alive and then walks to him.
yeah, he kind of acted like an idiot there, I'd say.
At that point, that would have been the
Um,
best part for three killers because then you could have just, as he's aiming the gun at him, a third Ghostface could have just come out and just got the stab in.
I'm just like I'm curious about if you have Courtney Cox and Nev Campbell, and like so we know for sure 100% that Nev Campbell, you just have that feeling that City's never going to be killed off, of
Well, if
course.
she's the main
But
character this time, there's no chance she's getting killed off.
I think she even said that like someone expressed an idea that like she wouldn't allow her to be killed off because she's just she thinks too much of like the journey that Sydney's gone on. She wouldn't want that to end in like Ghostface getting the best of her, which I
Well,
guess it makes sense. I mean, even like at this point, like with Halloween, like you can't really they wouldn't kill Laurie Strode now. It doesn't feel like either. So because the journey is like too impactful, I guess
I mean,
for them. So
either way, I'm fine with not killing her off. What I would have done though is leave her out of it. Because let's face it, Scream, honestly, with the way the franchise has been built up, you don't need these characters to constantly come back. Sure, it's nice to see a familiar face, but
yeah.
do we always need to? Like in part six, you could have either kept Gale away or just let Gale die, and then have Nev Campbell be the. But granted, if Gale died, Sydney would have came back for the ending of part six. But
Well, Scream 5 and 6 was the whole point there was to transition to a new core, obviously the core 4. Just all this stuff happened that now it's like you have to go back to relying on Sydney as the main character. Sydney already graduated past like the main character. She's supposed to be more like in the background or
she should be more
support.
the mentor character.
Yeah, to go back to her as the main character kind of feels like the the well is running dry. Like how many more sequels can you get out of that? Like I read a rumor that they're already working on Scream 8 and I'm like I don't know. Like I love Sydney, but I don't want to see like 10 sequels with like let Sydney go live her life. Like how could she you're doing the worst in a character by saying like, okay, we're gonna put you through more trauma. Ghostface is coming after you again. It's like, how many times can a Ghostface target Sydney? It's like, I understand that because of like the whole situation, they had to transition back to Sydney for this sequel. But I hope the long-term plan isn't to just like keep doing Ghostface for Sydney for like 9 more sequels. Like, I don't think you can get much more mileage out of that, I'll say.
No, you can't because
We've seen it
personally,
a lot. We've seen
yeah,
it many sequels of it, so
yeah, I mean, I did like how they brought her in for part five. You know, Dewey died, Sydney came back for that. That makes some sense because Dewey was her best friend's brother, also. So of course she's going to have an emotional attachment. Honestly, Gail died. I don't think she's coming back for that one. She'll send a card.
I don't think so either. I think their connection was Dewey.
Hmm.
But now that Dewey's gone, I don't see them, like, talking on the phone or, like, really keeping in touch like that. I mean, this story is gonna be, like, obviously, it's gonna just be, like, Nev doesn't have to come back, it's gonna go to where she is. It's gonna take place in Nev Campbell's town, so it's the story's on her now, so she doesn't have to come back, and that's fine, but I hope it's a one and done. I hope she does this one sequel, and I hope that in this mo now, what you could do is, obviously, you have the 17-year-old daughter, so you can find a way to transition the series to her, and that's okay. But even then,
Nah,
it's like because the problem is you're still gonna involve Sydney if her daughter's being targeted. You can't
yeah,
get away from Sydney then,
because let's
so
face it, Sydney's going to come in and end up saving the day.
really what they gotta do is, like, they gotta sell the rights to a different studio and then give Melissa Barrera a bag and have her come back. I mean, maybe Jenny
I got it.
Ortega's, like, really moved on from the franchise, but
No, I got an idea because let's face it. Personally, with what happened with Melissa Barrera, I do feel like, and I'm not the only one who feels this way. Jenna Ortega left for that reason. She didn't leave just because she was too busy. That was her reasoning to stay good with that company. But she left because of what happened with Melissa Barrera. And from what it sounds like, because one I saw one person ask, "What about the actress that played Mindy?" Apparently, Mindy said, "Go screw yourselves too." She didn't like the whole thing that happened with Melissa Barrera. So, honestly, what I think they should do is sell the rights to. Does Radio Silence actually have movies, or are they just the makers? Do they just make the movies? Uh,
just the makers, the company that owns the rights is a company called Spyglass.
so,
So, I think Melissa specifically was like, would never make a movie with Spyglass again.
well, let's do this. Whatever company that Radio Silence worked with to make Abigail, they should sell Scream to to that production company, and then have Radio Silence come in to make Scream 7 with the core 4 to finish off that trilogy they originally planned. That would be a good
Well
idea.
you can't do Scream 7 though, if there's already they're already doing Scream
Well,
7 now
Scream
almost.
either way, Scream
Scream 8.
8
Yeah.
would be the ending trilogy, at least of Melissa Barrera's character.
I I'm down with that, but for that to happen, I feel like involving Chad kinda messes the whole thing up because I feel like that feels like they're not gonna revisit that at all, the core 4, if you're bringing Chad in. It feels like he's representing the core 4, but if you had left the core 4 completely separate, I think then you can catch up with them later on and do a whole new story. But involving Chad feels like something's gonna happen, like they kill them off screen or something. I don't know, but,
Well, again, it's
um,
probably because this is definitely Mason Gooding Jr.'s uh, kind of biggest role that I've seen anyway. So
I
of
think
course
Mindy
Mason's
I think Mindy's on a hit TV show, I think, so I think she had more flexibility to be like, "Yeah, I'm good." And obviously Jenny Ortega, even
yeah.
though Jenny Ortega might have left because of the Melissa Barrera thing, but I mean, there was already rumors ahead before that that, like, she was, like, beyond Scream at that point, so I don't know.
Well, let's also face it, she was expecting to only do one more Scream movie anyway.
We were thinking basically that maybe they'll kill her off just so, like, she can exit the series in a way.
Kill her
Um,
off, or she has a small minor role. It focuses heavily on Melissa. Like they're separated to an extent, and then Jenna ends up at the ending. Either way, they can
I mean,
give her
there's a lot
out.
of rumors. I mean, I heard even one rumor that the studio found out that Jenny Ortega wasn't coming back, so once that happened, they wanted to find a reason to fire Melissa so that they could then pivot completely back to Nev Campbell pretty much. They were like, "If we can't have Jenny Ortega, we can't even do this Carpenter sister story. Let's then get rid of Melissa and then completely have a reason where we can pivot back to giving all the money to Nev Campbell to do a Sydney story." Because I
I,
don't it's got if Jenny Ortega did not do the movie, how do you have one sister without the other sister? That they're gonna be linked together in the story, so
well, I got an idea then. Don't sell it to whoever Radio Silence is working with. Sell it to Tim Burton.
Tim Burton?
Jenna Ortega would definitely have a hand in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know
Tim Burton's her mentor now when it comes to production. So
yeah, who the killer's gonna be in that movie?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Look, they gotta do it like he's not in the cast list. You don't know he's in the movie. But then the mask comes off and it's Johnny Depp, and you're like, "What the hell?"
I mean, that happens a lot, believe it or not. So,
That
like,
would be the way around, if you're a big name actor, then just don't be in the movie, just show up at the end.
like, what was it? The movie Joyride. The at least the voice, not the actual body, but the voice of Rusty Nail. He's not credited even on IMDb.
Mm, yeah, interesting. One note to add with Melissa too, apparently so they're doing a new Scary Movie, like the parody, and,
Is she
I
in
think
it?
she said she'd be down for it. I think if she does that, then she's never coming back to a Scream sequel. Once you are in the parody of the franchise, I don't think then she's gonna, like, after that. So I think that'll be if she's in the Scary Movie, I think that's, like,
Well,
officially
Scary
a
Movie.
wrap.
The only Scream parody of Scary Movie was the first one. The others did different horror genres each time.
Yeah, they have a lot to work with because they haven't done it in a long time, so there's a lot in the horror genre they can focus on, but I still think if Melissa Barrera's in that, like, parodying herself, I don't see her doing that and then going back to actually playing the character. Maybe, but I feel like that might be the death knell, though, I don't know. We'll
That's
see.
fair, but I'd have heard about some good things about Scary Movie 6. Like, was it 6 or 5? Either way. Apparently, the Wayne brothers actually are part of it this time.
Yeah. Yeah, they got really I like part 3, but after part 3, like, I think 4 and 5 got really bad, so, but either way. So, bottom line with Scream 7, I'd say that, I'm not super excited because, it feels like this is a sequel that's being made not with, like, the creative thing in mind, but more like something happened with the actors and actresses where they had to pivot to this. So, anything with Sydney as the main character doesn't feel, like, inspired to me, but I'm open-minded, though. I think Kevin Williamson, I believe, is, directing it.
Yes.
So, um, I'm gonna go in open-minded, see what happens.
But
The
let's see who
Scream
the
movie,
writers are. The writers.
that I don't know.
So the story is by James Vanderbilt, and it's written by Guy Busick.
I mean, that doesn't really do
I
anything for
mean,
me, so
Guy Busick apparently is such a. I'm going to sound like a jackass, but he's such a no-name writer that he doesn't even have a picture on IMDb.
This is gonna be his breakthrough script, baby. So this is breakthrough role. So,
No, we'll
well,
see.
well, like I said, I mean, we got to think that Kevin Williamson's gonna have a huge imprint on the creative era if he's directing. So, I gotta believe he'll do something interesting. I mean, listen, let's just bite the bullet. The mask comes off. It's Stu. Let's just do it. It's Stu.
I,
Why?
I,
Who else would be going after Sydney if not Stu? After all these years, come on. He really had a thing for her. So, so.
yeah, I still hope not. I'm on the part that the man is dead. He had a damn
Yeah.
55 box TV fall on his head while still plugged in. If it could kill a baby, it can kill a grown ass adult.
If he was alive, we would have heard about it. He has no reason. Look. I mean, he would have went to prison. He would have heard about it. So it's like they would know that he's alive
You would
unless like
have to
literally.
is actually because it happened in 1996. Death penalty was still a thing then. He would be if he did not escape. He would have been put to the electric chair.
I'll make him realize if he escaped and then immediately changed his identity and then went to hiding, pretty much. Because Kirby didn't know about him, Gail Weathers didn't know about him, so he must be dead. But if you want to go there, just do it. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody's gonna like slap hands and like yeah, if like the mask comes off and it's Stu, everybody's gonna be excited. I'm gonna be like, well, it doesn't make sense later on, but they want to be like, it's Stu.
And that's when I go, this franchise is over.
That's to be the last Scream movie. Once you bring Stu back, that is the end of the franchise. You can't really. Everybody's like, "Yep, that's the end of the franchise." So,
No, it would be
uh,
funny. Actually, you know, it would be funnier if the way they reveal Stu is instead of in the ghost face outfit, in order to get closer to Sydney, like say Sydney, Mark, and her kids were at a little birthday party for her kids at a Freddy Fazbear's, okay, and then Golden Freddy walks out and then takes off takes off the animatronic head, and boom, there's Stu.
I was gonna say immediately, I didn't understand any of these references, and I was like, "Freddy Krueger? Huh?
Oh,
You
I'm
talking
sure
about
anyone
the?"
who's played Five Nights at Freddy's, they know.
I'm just saying, bring back Stu. Why not? Just go there. Just do it. So, anyways, that's our initial thoughts. Maybe we'll give some more Scream 7 thoughts later on as more news comes out. Hopefully, things are predictable. We can actually figure out based on the casting who the killer is ahead of time. So I hope things are kept under wrap. But I'm gonna go with an open mind. I've seen like 5 of the 6 Scream movies I've seen in theaters, so I'm sure I'll see 7 in theaters also. Maybe I don't know.
Which Scream movie have you not seen in theaters?
Scream 5 was the one I did not see in theaters. You saw that in theater, I remember, but
Yeah,
that was the only one I hadn't seen in theaters. Was Scream 5, yeah.
for me, I think
Oh, well, I didn't see the first one in theaters either.
uh
Part 1 and part 5. Part 2 was the
one.
first one I saw in theaters, so.
So part five was the first one I saw in theaters.
Mm, I remember. Yeah, yeah, the next day, you're like, "Listen, man, that was the best Scream movie of all time." He was,
Well, I was high on it. I will give you that, but it's not the best. The first one is still the best.
okay, you said it was the best sequel, that's right, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, get over it. Best
Yeah, but we
sequel,
were
and I stand
yeah,
by
but
that.
yeah, but we know really, I mean, we know that, Scream 4 is, by far the best
And on
sequel.
that note, everybody, if Vic is not here next week, it's because he said Scream 4 is the best sequel. Uh,
Our the audience knows it, you know it, and
I don't
sir,
know it
I
because that is
definitely
the
know it.
worst sequel.
Oh, man, get out of here. What? The worst?
Yeah,
Spe Worse than Scream 3?
yeah, because Scream 3 knew it was shit, and they went with it.
Scream 3 had only one good thing, and that was, "You're obsessed with her, and you're obsessed with her daughter!"
Nah.
Parker Posey was the only good thing about Scream 3. Alright, folks, till next time, you guys take care.
Peace.